The Klaus arc is finished. Future Redeemed has wrapped our tale that began with Xenoblade Chronicles back on the Wii, but this is definitely not the end for the Xeno series as a whole. The overall series has been going since Xenogears all the way back in 1999, and it really seems to me that Monolith Soft still has plenty to do in this setting and worlds. The options are vast, so let's explore some of the possibilities, but I would be remiss if I didn't shout out a friend of mine whose Xenoblade knowledge far surpasses my own and who helped with this video. Feralinape is an avid Xenoblade fan who may not have gotten me into Xenoblade, but has gotten many others into the games, and is just overall a great person who streams over on Twitch. Check him out there. I hope you enjoy our somewhat rambling, definitely speculative, possibly prophetic musings, and I look forward to seeing yours in the comments. Before we get started with the main content of the video, I do want to stress something. This is not a spoiler-free video for any of the Xenoblade games. At bare minimum, I'm using footage from throughout the series, so please be cautious if you haven't played all the games. As for Xenogears and Xenosaga, I will talk about them at some point in the video, but from the perspective of someone who has never played them and would like to remain oblivious to the general plots of the games. Therefore, there should be no spoiler warning necessary for those games. I'll give Farah a chance to introduce his own background with the Xeno series, and then we'll get started.
Hey there everyone, Feralinape here, Farah for short, and I love Xenoblade Chronicles. I never thought that when I first played this series back in 2014 that it would eventually become my favorite JRPG series of all time. But now, almost 10 years later, I can safely say that starting this journey was one of the best decisions teenage me could have ever made. Xenoblade came into my life during a time where I was pretty hesitant to step outside of my comfort zone when it came to video games. But after watching a certain Let's Play of the original game, shocker that that's how I got into the series, I know, I decided that I needed to try this game, and I've never been so glad I took a chance on a game in my life. I'll be joining Rio today to discuss what we think the next major focuses for the series will be, as well as what we personally would like to see somewhere down the line. Hope you all enjoy, and let's get started.
I will start my discussion then with the email that started all the speculation as to the future of the Xeno series. Tetsuya Takahashi, the director of Monolith Soft and creator of the Xeno series, said in an email sent to Japanese customers about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, translated from Japanese to English, this title depicts the conclusion of the Xenoblade story that began with Klaus's experiment. He goes on to clarify that he means a stopping point, not an end for the series entirely, but there is still much ambiguity in what a stopping point means. What does the story that began with Klaus's experiment even entail? There is no definitive answer, but I'll endeavor to give a prediction as to what the Xenoblade series could be going for using another series well known for its arcs and stopping points in a long-running series, the Trails series. For those who don't know it, the Trails games are a series of RPGs in an interconnected world depicting events on the continent of Zemuria across different places as time progresses. We began our Trails journey in what is called the Liberl arc with Estelle Bright, then proceeded to the city of Crossbell for their arc, next to the Empire of Erebonia, and most recently the Republic of Calvard. I don't think Xenoblade is going to go this direction exactly, but what I do feel is the case is that the Xeno series is always interconnected, like the Trails series. We've seen that most recently with the references to Xenosaga and Xenoblade 3 Future Redeemed. Now, the events of Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 could be included in future games in a similar way, with cameos for characters like Cosmos had in Xenoblade 2, or hints of dialogue and visual clues seen throughout the games. I think though that the reason for the limited references before may have been due to copyright and agreements regarding Xenosaga and especially Xenogears. Xenoblade doesn't have those issues though, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are more direct references than Xenogears and Xenosaga got. If not full characters appearing between games, then concepts or events having a greater impact. I predict the next adventures in the series will be a new cast and a world distant from the ones found before. New cultures, new people, new races and species. A new arc for the series to go to, but one still in the same universe as the Klaus trilogy, allowing for the possibility of callbacks and references. Heck, I wouldn't even be surprised if A/Alvis make an appearance in said series. The possibilities are there, but if I were to bet on it, that's what I expect based on what Takahashi said and Monolith Soft's past treatment of games. It's going to take time though for that entirely new world and arc to be developed. Monolith Soft have been working flat out for a long time now, certainly to make the Xenoblade series, especially during the Switch era, but also with helping other Nintendo games on top of that. I think therefore it could be a little while before we see the next big new game from the studio. I expect and hope they take their time and try to set things up for a great new start to the Xeno adventures. That doesn't mean though that there can't be some things in between, some projects that could tide fans over, and there are two obvious candidates for those projects. The first is the long-hoped-for Switch port of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition did really well and was a magnificent update on the original game. There's no reason why X couldn't receive the same treatment. Heck, I'm sure fans would love just a straight-up port, even without the bells and whistles added for Definitive Edition. There are no complicated rights issues, no doubt on whether there would be an audience for the game. It is a perfect candidate for an in-between project. If it does well, there could even be momentum then for a sequel if the interest from the studio is there. What would that sequel look like? We'll let Farah get into that now.
Let me take you back in time to December 2015, when Xenoblade Chronicles X launched for the Wii U. You finally reached the end of the game, and you're making your stand against a deformed Lao. You and your party come out on top, Elmo reveals her secret, and the game ends. Everything seems fine and dandy at this point, until you're greeted by a very particular post-credits scene. Elmo and the Reclaimers are investigating the depths of the life hold system to see if anything is badly damaged, as this structure was meant to house the bodies of Earth's survivors, and what's been keeping the artificial bodies of the survivors operational. A large set of doors open, and Elmo reveals to Nagi and Vandam that the interior systems of the life hold have been destroyed since crashing on Mira. Nagi wonders as to how everyone is still alive, only for Elmo to respond with, "It's this planet. It's something about this planet." After a brief check-in with Lao, unconscious on a beach, we're greeted with this line of text: "This story never truly ends." If that isn't the perfect way to hint at a continuation of this story, then I don't know what is. When it comes to a potential sequel for Xenoblade X, the possibilities are basically endless. While the first game didn't really put much focus on the story and instead opted for more on a gameplay on the world, I'd like to see an even bigger story for the sequel. The potential lore to be found on Mira, coupled with so many unanswered questions from the first game, would make for an incredible story. Maybe one that could rival the main trilogy if done right. There's so much untapped potential with Elma, Lao, and the rest of Blade as a whole that could be greatly expanded upon. Not to mention, it feels like we've only scratched the surface of all the mysteries on Mira. As for the gameplay aspects, there's not really a whole lot I can say I'd like to see changed or improved upon, as the gameplay of X is, in my opinion, the strongest aspect of the game. The combat is smooth and fast-paced, exploration always feels rewarding, the scale customization was amazing! Sorry about that, got a bit carried away there. But yeah, I feel like if the team really put as much love and dedication toward the story as they did for the core gameplay, we'd have one amazing sequel. There's also the aspect of online missions that I could talk about as well, but if I did that, we'd be here for a while. So I'm gonna stop myself before I start rambling even more.
Thank you, Farah. As you can see, there are plenty of possibilities with regards to Xenoblade X. Now, the other idea which could be done instead of, or in addition to, a Xenoblade Chronicles X port is a remaster of the Xenosaga trilogy. Xenosaga is a little more complicated as the IP rights are owned by Bandai Namco, so it would depend on Bandai Namco's interest in doing a project like a Xenosaga remaster. Bandai Namco hasn't had the best relationship with Switch for its most recent games, with the notable exception of their remasters. Tales of Arise and Scarlet Nexus didn't come to Switch, but Tales of Symphonia Remastered did, as did Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Of course, the most obvious reason to assume Bandai Namco may have interest is that they did a recent remaster of a Monolith Soft developed Bandai Namco owned property in Baten Kaitos back in September. Bandai Namco and Monolith Soft collaborated on this remaster of their original collaboration, and that, plus the Xenosaga references in Future Redeemed, gives credence to the idea of Bandai Namco and Nintendo having a good working relationship on Monolith Soft properties. In fact, the Baten Kaitos remasters may be used as a test balloon for future collaborations if they're not in the works already. At the very least, those remasters doing well would put immense pressure on Bandai Namco to make a Xenosaga remaster work. I don't necessarily think that happened though, but I've been enjoying the remasters. Just so long as they treat Baten Kaitos and possibly Xenosaga better than they treated Tales of Symphonia with its Switch port, I think the chances are decent. Is there a chance then that Xenogears could find its way one day to the Switch? Square Enix and Nintendo have worked well in the past few years, see the Super Mario RPG remake coming. It would be nice if it happened, but I'm not sure we're at that point yet. Firstly, Xenogears, due to its rushed second half, probably needs more than a remaster to satisfy modern gamers. That means more time and resources on something that's already uncertain due to the partnership and collaboration that would be necessary to make that happen. It is, of course, a business, and if Square Enix/Nintendo/Monolith Soft don't think it will sell well, it won't happen. That's where I think Xenogears is at right now. Unless something big happens to show that the Xeno fans would be all on board with the Xenogears remake, I don't think that's a likely proposition. That then covers some of the in-between projects and past Xeno entries that could get new life in this new era of the Xeno series, but I wanted to leave off finally with Farah's and my thoughts on what we would like and predict we will get from the next big Xenoblade game. This time, I will let my guest go first and wrap things up with my own thoughts.
All in all, my major hopes for the series are pretty standard and may seem a bit predictable, but the thing I'd really like to see happen are a few select spin-offs, mainly a Warriors game. With the expansive cast of characters from 7 different games now, the possibilities are near endless for what a Xenoblade hack and slash could amount to. Heck, they could even add special missions where you can pilot skells and mow down hordes of larger enemies, because who doesn't love a good old-fashioned scrap? Okay, I'll move on now. As for what I'd like to see from the series in the future, I don't really have too much to say on that front. If the story is enthralling and the world is expansive with enough exploration to feed the hunger of even the most ambitious adventurers, I think that'd be enough for me. Because as long as Monolith remembers the main roots of the series, then I have no doubt in my mind that the next game will be just as incredible as the last.
There's a lot that I don't think needs any changing for the future of the Xenoblade games, especially post-Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Future Redeemed, both of which are rich, complete experiences that I've rarely seen the like of before or since. However, given some recent comments from the developers, the future of Xenoblade could look very different from the past trilogy, but that sort of comment makes it very hard to predict, so I'll just give you what I would like to see in a very general, non-specific way. I very much hope that the storytelling that blends the very personal stakes of our main characters with the wider issues of the world is kept. It's so easy to be invested in the personal and the broader world struggle when they are so strongly linked. I would love if they kept the 6 to 7 party member battles from Xenoblade 3. I know it was chaotic at times, but it's such a refreshing experience compared to most RPGs, and I think it was implemented well. The gameplay formula for exploration is excellent as well. Future Redeemed had the best system yet, and even motivated me enough to 100% the DLC. I've never done that for a previous Xenoblade game, but it might be hard to maintain that over the course of an even larger game. Therein lies the first change that I'd like for Xenoblade moving forward. A more condensed experience. I'm not saying drastically shorter, but I think the Xenoblade series might be better served by a 40-hour main campaign as opposed to the 60 hours we've been having. There are times, especially in 2 and a little bit in 3 as well, where story pacing presented issues. With the continued existence of incredible side content and exploration, I think a shorter main story would couple together to make it easier for players to see and do everything and avoid burnout. Especially for the game introducing a new arc, a focused story would do wonders just as Xenoblade 1 did for the Klaus arc. I'm really excited to see what the new visual heights the Xeno series can reach with the prospect of a more powerful console to work on going forward. Xenoblade was already the best looking first party franchise on the Switch, and I see no reason why that would end now. On that topic, the final part of the video I have is my prediction on when the next big mainline game for Xenoblade is going to come out, and I think we have a little bit of a wait. We just got Xenoblade 3 and Future Redeemed, plus Monolith Soft's assistance with Tears of the Kingdom. We also have the rumors that next year will be the release of the Switch's successor. I'm putting some credibility to those rumors. I think it makes sense, and if so, that would make it more likely that Monolith Soft and Nintendo would wait for that console to release first, kind of like they did with Xenoblade 2 for the Switch. It'll take some time to plan out the series as well, so no expectation for a Xenoblade launch title. I anticipate an early 2026 release for the next game. I think that gives plenty of time, and of course, if possible, earlier than that would be nice. But I also want them to take their time as they try to follow up on an incredible series of games. That's all from me, and a big thank you again to Farah for joining for this video. If you want to check him out, I have linked his YouTube and Twitch pages in the description. He does streams on a lot of different games, including the Trails and Xeno series, and is just a wonderful chaos gremlin. Let me know in the comments what you want in or expect from the next Xeno games from Monolith Soft. Would you buy a remastered collection of Xenosaga? I'll be looking forward to hearing your thoughts, and while you're headed to the comments, all the likes, dislikes, and shares you provide help me out immensely, so thank you for those who do so. Subscribe to keep up with my channel and any future videos on the Xeno series and other games. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and happy gaming.